Hey guys, Super Godzilla Final Wars here, and I am back once again with another video. Today we're going to be theorizing what if the OG Godzilla, the 1954 Godzilla, was in the monsterverse. Now last time we did this, we basically gone over what would happen if Legendary Godzilla was in the Showa era universe. And basically he did not reach his GXK size, and of course, he was stuck in his 2014 stage because there was no Hollow Earth, and I'm pretty sure there was no super powerful sources of radiation in the Showa era universe. But now we're going to be going over what would happen if the 1954 Godzilla was in his universe. So without further ado, let's begin. So how would this story start? Let's say it starts off kind of similar to the original movie, but with a bit of a more tragic. Let's say that the other Godzillosauruses, aka the other members of his species, were in the universe with him. And when the nuclear bomb happened, and it killed off all the other Godzillosaurus except for one, Gojira, leaving him to be the last of his kind. Or is he? Now, let's say that the iconic attack from his movie happens in the monsterverse. The iconic attack from 1954. Gojira will attack Tokyo in 1954, showing the world the first ever monster. Now, how will this affect Monarch Legacy of Monsters? Obviously, they made a trap to kill Godzilla in the monsterverse, and let's say that same trap happens with Gojira. Now, I know what you guys were thinking, well, how come they didn't just make an auction destroyer? Did you forget it took them basically 60 years to make the auction destroyer in King of the Monsters? In the monsterverse, I mean. Yeah, it basically took them 60 years to make it. So, yeah. Now, how would this affect the rest of Monarch Legacy of Monsters? Will Gojira be some kind of a main antagonist in that series? At least in the 1950s timeline for the Monsterverse. Let's say yes. Let's say that more attacks happened and Gojira is revealed to be alive. Now, one of the characters mentions that the military will try to use another nuclear bomb just to try to kill Gojira. Let's say they do exactly that. But there's a problem. Gojira is not stupid. He is smart. He knows he's not going to fall for the same trap again. If anything, he's going for the opposite direction. He's going in the opposite direction. Now let's say during the Monsterverse, Gojira keeps on attacking and attacking. At this point, it's no longer trying to make things even between him and humanity. It is full-on war. Unlike Heisei Godzilla, who was kind of inactive, kind of. I don't know, I haven't watched that. What if Heisei Godzilla was in the Monsterverse for a while? I need to go back and watch that. But if he was inactive, Gojira will be a lot more active. Gojira will basically continue until the start of Godzilla 2014. Now, this is where things kind of change. at least for Gojira. Now, during the start of Godzilla 2014, obviously Dr. Serizawa discovers the remains of Dagon, and the male Muto larva makes its way towards Tokyo. At the same time, Gojira makes its way towards Tokyo, but this time with a much more different look. This time he'll start to look a bit similar to GMK Godzilla. There are still some parts of Gojira that will be kind of recognizable, like, for example, his roar, kind of ish. It'll be a lot more darker, more louder. And, his pupils will still be the same. But besides that, he'll just look nearly identical to GMK. So, how big is Gojira during this time? Is he like 50 meters, or is he like 60 meters, 70 meters? How big is he? For now, he is currently 80 meters. Let's say during the past decade he's been attacking mankind. He's been absorbing many nuclear power plants and also making his way towards the whole Earth entrance and discovering more powerful sources of energy down there, further making him bigger and stronger and even more powerful. Now, what about the other kaiju, like Shiramiro? Did Gojira ever encounter him? Yes, and at first Gojira didn't really care about him, but when Shiramiro was attacking him, he finally decided to put it into him. So, yeah. But what about the other kaiju, like the Iron Dragon or other kaiju? Will Gojira even care about them? Let's say for this scenario, he doesn't give a damn about the other kaiju. And the only thing that he cares about is his revenge and wiping out humanity. So at this point, like I said before, they're not willing to take his attacks as a lesson or something. At this point, they're just declaring war on him, and at this point, he's accepting their challenge. Now, let's say during this alternative universe, let's say that they build like kaiju alarm systems where they let the civilians know that Gojira is coming. Now, when the male Muto gets there, he starts absorbing the nuclear power plant, just like in the original timeline, but it won't be there for long because Gojira eventually arrives. The military arrives just in time to try to stop Gojira. Now, this is where our main character from the movie, Fort Brody, does not make it, unfortunately. He's one of the unlucky few who does not make it. His parents, on the other hand, they actually do make it. Because the male Muto was just about to get to absorb some of the nuclear power plant, but he was interrupted by Gojira, and at the very sight of him, at first, he's a little confused because this is not the Gojira, like the Titanis Gojira that he's used to. He's used to the Titanis Gojiras, not a Godzillasaurus. Now, let's say that Gojira does encounter the male Muto larva, and what will be his first action? To get rid of it. Let's say that there is a part of Gojira that tells him this is a threat and he needs to take care of it. Otherwise, it's going to come back and bite him in the back, or in the, So Gojira listens to his instincts and tracks down the male Muto larva, finds it, and he starts biting it and ripping it to shreds. At this point, the male Muto larva it's done. It's dead. It is finished. So there will be no male Muto for the female Muto to mate with in 2014. speaking of 2014, we cut to 2014, and at this point, Fort Brody's parents are wanting revenge on Gojira for, well, getting their son killed. And at this point, Tokyo, in this timeline, it's completely uninhabitable because all the radiation that Gojira absorbed, and plus, he just leveled Tokyo. He just turned it into nothing more but a sea of fire, completely uninhabitable for decades, possibly. Now, Monarch in this timeline will be trying to find a way to stop Gojira. Dr. Zerazawa is kind of convinced that Gojira is a good kaiju, but however, his assistant, on the other hand, does not share the same opinion. At this point, now she's like fully interested on getting rid of him. She wants Gojira dead now. At this point, she does not believe he's a natural protector, but instead a force of nature that needs to be stopped. Or can he be stopped? Now, is Dr. Zerazawa a little convinced that Gojira is a threat? Yeah, in this alternate timeline, he is a little convinced that Gojira is definitely a threat. Now, what about the female Muto? As I just explained, that the male Muto is basically dead in this alternate timeline. Does Gojira track down her as well? For now, he doesn't. And in this time skip, Gojira is now officially 100 meters. At this point, so many civilians died during the past attacks that Gojira has been attacking cities. At this point, it's not looking good for humanity. Now, let's say that in this alternative universe, the military has been using many different types of nuclear bombs at Gojira. And if anything, they're not killing Gojira, they're just making him stronger, they're making him bigger. So, yeah. But with the male Muto dead, let's say the female Muto wakes up a lot more earlier than the male Muto did in the original film. And what's her action is to track down Muto Prime and wake him up, basically. Now, let's say that female Muto eventually tracks down Muto Prime and awakens her. She tells Prime that the male Muto is dead. Someone or something killed him. Muto Prime will be furious, but at the same time, she believes that it has to be a Titanis Gojira. But unknowingly to the both of them, it's not.